Luigi's Mansion. Working on the script for this newest release, I still remember that original game. It was a part of my maturing gamer years, as it was for a whole other bunch of people. It's one of the games that feel really nostalgic for me since it hit at the right time at the beginning of the GameCube's lifespan. Nowadays, I can call it just about mediocre, but it's still fun to do a fun run of all the boss ghosts. It's not the best game ever made, but it was one of those unique experiences that only comes along every once in a while. Nowadays, Luigi's Mansion has been going through a remarkable redemption. Nintendo handed over the idea to Next Level and they brought out Dark Moon, which was pretty good and definitely a more in-depth take on the idea that Nintendo slapped together as a tech demo. I remember liking its increased complexity and bringing the Luigi relationship with Ghosts and King Boo into the gaming world into a completely new level of detail that the original had only just begun. Now we get to the newest game in the series, and I do remember when it came out that it did have healthy hype since it was one of the few Nintendo first parties on the Switch at the time, and people were definitely talking about it. And now, it's my turn to see if Next Level has brought something notable to the table of the hybrid console. First thing off the bat is that the introduction to this game is excellent. The previous games had that attitude of getting the intro dusted and done so that the player can get immediately into the action of the game. However, in the newest entry, I appreciate that the game decided to slow things down and start opening the doors to the hotel gradually. The game centers around the Mario royalty taking a vacation to a middle-of-nowhere super-duper hotel run by a regal hostess and totally not Ghost in Disguise. Obviously, the hotel gives them a hero's welcome, and they get down to enjoying themselves, getting settled in, and say a word or two before things start going completely hat-stand. Surprise! Shock! The hotel turned out to be a front for evil! As Luigi gets awoken by King Boo's cronies, kidnapping the princess, Mario, and the toads that came with, for yet another attempted art gallery. Luigi escapes and miraculously manages to recruit Egad once again to help clean up the building, with the return of the trusty Poltergust. Unlike Dark Moon's multiple buildings, Luigi's Mansion 3 takes place within the same colossal hotel / skyscraper. It's a stronger location for this game to take place in, since the guys at Next Level can use the typical trappings and tropes of what a hotel is supposed to be in the real world, cram in tons of details and additional puzzles around it to make it a unique place for Luigi's next adventure. One of the major gameplay parts is the Poltergust and exploring, so Next Level puts in tons of extra drawers and furniture to vacuum up and reveal keys, collectibles, and tons of money as a reward for poking around everywhere, which gives the player an actual reason to look at everything in the game. Along with all the floors in the hotel being a totally new level of the game, utilizing different gimmicks and well-executed puzzles, making it actually interesting to do the exploring, which in of itself ties into the reward and makes it such a grand location in its entirety. And in addition to all of that being fun, and the puzzles actually being somewhat challenging, this game also has a full-fledged story to tell the player, instead of the narratives in previous games where it's a bunch of contrivances just to have the building exploration sound like it makes some sort of sense. This game has a full story from beginning to end and quirky spirits to mess with Luigi. The boss ghosts in this game are really memorable, since they put in hotel employees that would be working on the floors that they designed for the hotel, and then give them gimmicks fitting for their positions, and then top it off with goofy animations and some cutscenes that ultimately hits all the check marks for being good, memorable bosses. And for a few floors, the gimmick of the boss will be the central point of the entire level, just like how I love it. Making the boss of the level involved in the entire journey for that level really helps build a captivating villain, since they are the ones causing all the problems instead of simply being the last one on our laundry list. I remember having lots of fun with the bosses and figuring out their tells and defeating them in style on our quest to find elevator buttons. The hotel is divided into many levels. through the plot device of the elevator buttons, which were stolen by the ghosts in order to thwart Luigi's quest to save his friends held in the penthouse. It's the kind of contrivance that mostly works for a video game coming from the school of TV cartoons, since, yeah, it doesn't really make sense that the buttons themselves are the thing stopping the elevator from going up or down, but I can go with it for the sake of this game. The buttons are then given to the boss ghosts to protect from Luigi, and since they're so bad at it, Luigi simply defeats them with relative ease and takes what he wants. One thing I did want to make special mention of is the rising wackiness of this game. For the first half, I thought that this game was going to play it mostly straight. It's a hotel full of hotel things that the ghosts have taken over, and Luigi is going to have to clean all of them out in order to defeat the villain and eventually reach the main office on the top floor. What I wasn't prepared for was the game's second half. For the most part, the game does do the hotel idea to the letter. The floors are well designed, they're full of creative details to really capture the idea of what exploring a hotel is like, and then they put in those unique puzzles for the player to have challenges to defeat and make the exploration worthwhile. However, later on, things start going oddball. Instead of floors like the gift shop and the restaurant, you start getting things like the pyramid floor and the movie studio, which are such ridiculously silly levels to be in a hotel that it started actually making me laugh. What made it good was that Next Level used the same amount of creative drive on all the floors, which meant that these levels, which were incredibly silly, still had the same varied challenges and fun puzzles to solve, so just like the elevator button thing, I could easily let it slide that somehow this hotel had an actual, factual body of water on one of its floors. Yeah, I know people are going to complain that people shouldn't complain about that because it's a kid's game based around ghost magic, but the reason I wanted to point it out was that at the start of this game, all the floors were things that actual hotels could have in real life. But then they started getting wacky and weird, and I just had a little fun trying to figure out how you would have a sandy pyramid on a floor in a hotel. Even for a theme hotel, that would be an incredible stretch to have something that out of the box. If you want to talk about thinking too hard about this game, if you look at it the wrong way, you could take Luigi's Mansion 3 to be a really dark game, since the boss ghosts are designed to look more like regular people, instead of the generic ghosts of other games. So you could easily say that a massive disaster took place at this hotel a long time ago, and all of its employees simultaneously died, which created the boss ghosts. Starting to think about where the boss ghost came from does make Luigi's Mansion 3 a scarier experience. Ultimately, I did love Luigi's Mansion 3. The game has a lot of the unique creativity and a completely different feel and style that can only come from Next Level games. That studio stuffed this game so full of detail and colorful gimmicks that made the setting so endearing and the game a hell of a lot stronger than its previous two entries. The game has great, well thought out puzzle sequences that make for such a satisfying ride of a game. The floors that are completely different from each other made for amazing exploration and eventually made me sad that the game actually ended, since Next Level brought so many different ideas to the table and pretty much nailed down everything in splendid fashion. I don't really remember ever getting that stuck going through this game, so it's pretty much excellent and perfect. These guys have pretty much gotten the original Luigi's Mansion formula down to the letter, and they know how to use that particular idea of the poltergeist to its greatest strength. Next Level has vision, they have the planning, the managing, and the execution to aim for them to be expert developers, and honestly, I couldn't praise this enough. However, the one thing that does hold Next Level back from being a true genius studio is that it has a bad grasp of how to incorporate narrative into its games. Next Level has the gameplay side down to a fine science at this point. but when it came to putting in the story for Luigi's Mansion 3, they fumbled around a lot. The bosses from before are greatly used for their appearances, since they actually create the problem that Luigi has to puzzle around, but when it comes to the hotel and the game in general, the story threads connecting the main villain to Luigi are real shaky. Mostly coming down to the host watching Luigi on her security monitors, and then promising King Boo that just everything's going to be fine. King Boo doesn't really care and just wants to enjoy his Mario painting. The main villains don't seem to care that Luigi is easily mopping the floor with their henchmen and they're screwing around all the damn time. This game has the grand slow burn intro that we talked about earlier, but after that, the King Boo doesn't make an appearance to Luigi until the very end, along with the host villain. I wish that they would have done the Paper Mario thing, where the two main villains would discuss with the upcoming boss after every level about what the plan is to destroy Luigi, what they are going to do. And then they incorporate that cutscene into the gameplay so that the main villain would be directly involved with the hero. If this game had a more interconnected plot, so that Luigi would have to revisit older floors and there'd be shortcuts between the floors, making this level-based game more of an interconnected location, then frankly, this game probably would have been a real standout in all of the games instead of just in the Mario series, because then we would have gotten a true blue, child-friendly Resident Evil. It's such a shame that couldn't have happened, because Luigi's Mansion 3 is only a couple steps away from giving us that sort of game. Central overarching threat, an evolving challenge over time that makes the gameplay harder. All these ridiculous, crazy puzzles. I don't think that this game could have had actual survival horror elements because it really wouldn't have worked in the gameplay model, but with everything quirky and weird about it and all these ridiculous bosses on top of everything else, this game could have come so close to doing the Spencer Mansion in a different game. It just needs a few more additions. However, I could definitely sense that Next Level defines itself as an older school, non-narrative developer, since after that final battle with King Boo, Luigi's Mansion 3's outro wraps up super duper fast, and then just loads everyone up on the bus and sends them home waving happily. It's a really slapdash ending that cemented the one thing that was holding this game back. A captivating, thorough story running through the game front to back. It had such a great beginning, and then it didn't follow it up with anything. Also, King Boo is a really bad villain to end things on, since he's been defeated every time he was mano a ghosto with Luigi. But he keeps believing that Luigi is so beneath him that he'll never be bested again, only to be utterly defeated, and then escape another time just to repeat the same schlock. Ugh. King Boo is such a boring character. He's pure evil, no plan other than capturing Mario forever over and over again. He has no interesting character traits or any interesting backstory. He's basically just a bigger version of a regular Mario enemy. Truly, I wanted this game to be that rated E Resident Evil, because I think that could have been fun to have that sort of game. Instead, the main character is just Luigi, and basically everything else is the same. Stronger emphasis on the story and plot twists, and Luigi's Mansion 3 would be so close to what I dreamt it would have been. However, I'm not going to let my criticisms of this game hold me back from ultimately praising it. In the modern day of gaming, where games are being treated as so much product that holds no creative merit in the face of making as much money as possible, I want to tell my proper thanks to Next Level for going that extra mile and showing me a game that comes from a team that actually loves what it's doing. I'm surprised that Nintendo managed to find a studio that was able to take Luigi's Mansion as a series and reinvent it so damned well. To know exactly what they needed to do in order to make Luigi's Mansion The mediocre tech demo that barely capped off at 5 hours long, a standout exclusive, rather than just a footnote release. It's spectacular how well Next Level captures the ideas of creating these puzzles and combat around the typical rooms that a large-scale hotel would probably have in real life. The hotel has the typical rooms, the gift shop, the gym, the pool, the VIP rooms, and even more ideas beyond that, and it makes for such a lovely video game getting to explore those environments and solve those puzzles. And then they just started adding silly ideas like the pirate level for giggles. And it works really well considering how out of the box all these ideas are, and they're treated exactly the same as each other. The exploration of Luigi's Mansion 3 and going around to find as much cash as you can for those different endings gives life to these locations and makes the game an even more rewarding experience to collect all this stuff and get to see all the minute touches that Next Level put into this game. How cute it can be and how it tries to be, you know, kid-friendly and scary at the same time. Sure, the game isn't perfect, but for a Luigi's Mansion game, I don't think I could have expected anything better after Dark Moon. This game just shows how AAA games should be made and what they look like when they're done correctly. It's creative, it's energetic, perfectly executed, and a vibrant showcase of some of Luigi's better moments. I'll definitely keep my eye on Next Level for its next project because Luigi's Mansion 3 was truly excellent. It's definitely one of the best times I've had in a while with a video game, and I just want to say my proper thanks to Next Level again for taking out all the stops and just making its vision happen because it was an incredibly fun time for me.